Hi, my name's Dave, and you're listening to episode 66 of On the Bench, a podcast for scale modelers, by scale modelers, all about scale models. I'm pleased to announce that this episode is brought to you through the generous support of Ian McCauley, our latest Patreon supporter. Ian, the new hero of the modelling world, answered our call, and you can too. Just go to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 upwards. Your contributions help to fund the show and are greatly appreciated. The Scale Modelers Supply lacquer paints are a new and exciting range of paints specifically designed for the scale modeler. SMS paints have been formulated for airbrush use on a variety of scale model mediums, such as plastics, resins, and even metal. Being designed for airbrush use, all the guesswork with thinning ratios has been completely eliminated. All you need to do is give the sturdy glass bottle a good shake and then simply pour and spray. And of course, being an acrylic lacquer, they are tough. Much tougher than water-based paints and are very fast drying, giving you more time at the bench. SMS paints have a massive range of colours to choose from that will suit any scale model, including Gunpla, car, science fiction, aircraft, military, and even trains. And did we mention they also do a variety of weathering products, brushes, tools and accessories? Go and check out the full range and find your local stockist by typing in scalemodeler.com.au or simply punch in SMS paints to your search engine. And hey, great news if you're in the US and Canada, SMS paints are now available through usagundamstore.com. So give SMS paints a try. I know you'll be happy with the result. And hello and welcome to the show, and g'day Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day listeners.
G'day Julian.
Hello, hello.
And hello to our special guest Robert is back again.
G'day Dave, hello boys, hello viewers.
Hello.
Listeners, I think is
Viewers.
Hello viewers, listeners.
So how we all been?
Oh yeah, kicking back.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've been good.
Yeah.
Modelling slowly.
What are you, Julian?
Modelling a lot, actually.
Oh. Speaking of modelling a lot, do you see that Anthony Goodman finally finished his...
Yes, I did. The Aliens APC.
Yeah.
Looks great. Done a fantastic job.
Awesome.
Well done, Anthony. You did a great job.
Yeah.
Looks like proper armour rather than science fiction stuff.
Yes.
It does, doesn't it? And he's got a really great effect with the sort of the modelling type thing. It wasn't really modelling that finished he did, but...
The modulation.
Modulation looked really good.
What's mapping?
Mapping?
Yeah, that's another thing I hear about people using mapping.
I don't know.
No idea.
Okay.
Well, we have to research that. All right, well, let's go around the table. So you say you've been doing a lot of modelling, Julian?
Yeah. So I've got my few Vietnam builds and things, and I've got my French Sherman on the go.
Yes.
So the French Sherman's sort of stalled a little bit because I'm fairly far along. I've got all the decals on it. It just needs to be flat coated, and then I can start on the rest of it.
What era Sherman? Vietnam War, or is it going to be World War II?
There's a World War II.
Okay.
Like Normandy-ish sort of French Sherman.
Sure.
It'd be like the Free French, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
M401.
Operation Dragoon.
With the cast hull.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, so that one's, sort of sitting in, it's fairly far along, so I've got no need to go hard on it at the moment. I've been working on my F4 Phantom, F4D, D.
Yep.
And that's pretty far along. That's completely painted. I got most of the decals onto it last night.
Yep.
I was surprised it went along as fast as it did. I was expecting that to last a while, but it...
Yeah.
I thought, I'll start off with the wings. I'll just get all the wings done. Got through that really quickly. Same with the upper fuselage, and now I'm just working down the sides.
So when you decal, where do you start?
Well, in this
on an
case,
aircraft. Where would you start on an aircraft?
It probably depends on the aircraft because I tend to focus on. I start with decals that won't be seen
So
easily.
undersurface.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Just in case your decals aren't too good.
Yeah. Well, so in saying that, I got like maybe, I don't know, 50 decals onto this thing. And then when I went to put the main insignia on the wing,
Yep.
I did a bit of a boo-boo.
Ooh.
Yeah, it won't be able to be seen. It's not that bad. But you know when like you've hit it with lots of decal softener and you touch it with a brush or something and it smudges?
Smudges, yeah.
Yeah, it's smudged ever so slightly. But you know, it's not enough that most people will pick it up.
What does it say on the bottle? Don't touch it once you put the stuff on.
Oh, whatever. There was a reason. I think there was like a sort of a bubble I could see physically, like where it some air got entrapped in one of the panel lines.
Yep.
Yeah. So when I went to touch that and like sort of move it, nah, I didn't like that.
Didn't
very
like
much.
that one bit.
But I was on guard, so I knew it was something could have happened. So it's barely noticeable.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
And I could possibly touch it up a little bit with a brush with a bit of white, and it'll become even less noticeable.
Yep. Oh, well done.
Yeah. So I'm working my way through that. I didn't put any. I've left the decals off the tail so far, so that I can hold it at the nose and the tail and swivel it around. Jeez, it takes up some room.
It does. They're a big kit, those 48 scale Phantoms. Very big kit.
Yeah. And I got my A4F Hasegawa kit.
Yep.
That's completely built except for the refueling probe
Ah,
and ordnance.
you're
and
going
things
pretty
like that.
hard, Julian.
Yeah.
Well
He's a
done.
machine.
He is. Modelling machine.
Yeah. For some reason, I just sort of go, so you know how like sometimes you're like, oh, if I work on this every night, I can get it done by X date in time for like a certain club meeting or whatever, you know. And that sort of adds like a goal that helps you along. Also, we had a public holiday here yesterday,
Yes.
so that helped.
The Melbourne Cup.
The Melbourne Cup. And
I lost.
Oh, I didn't even bet.
Oh, I put $30 on three different
didn't even
horses
bet.
and didn't come any good.
I spent like some $250 on models.
I reckon yours was a sure bet and mine wasn't.
You're the winner, Julian.
It's just weird having a day off on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I was lucky. I just slung Monday off as well.
Yeah.
4-day weekend. It was brilliant.
So did you get match modelling done?
Nah, too busy trying to figure out why my computer was playing up.
Oh, dear.
And what's the real reason?
My computer's a piece of crap.
And it's 15 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's time to update it.
What about you, Robert? What have you been up to?
I've been... one of the groups I'm with, one of the many clubs I'm with, is doing a French theme for the expo display.
Yeah, might just get you to move that microphone a bit closer to yourself.
Okay. I thought I was fine with levels before. I must have backed off a bit. Okay, I'm doing French armour at the moment. So I'm doing two Samoa S35s and a Char B bis. And there's a bit of work on the all Tamiya kits, but there's got to add lots of rivets and you've got to change the shape of the hull on the S35 a bit because unfortunately Tamiya didn't get it quite right. But anyway, it's done now, so it's just onwards and upwards.
Very good.
That's where I'm lucky.
They're lovely kits to make, though, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm doing stressless modelling at the moment.
You're not modelling at all?
Well, the bits and pieces I'm doing are pretty stressless.
Yeah,
it's just taking a lot of paint.
Yeah.
That's the complete opposite from Robert's brand of modelling.
Oh yeah.
No, if there's
I got
stress
no
on-
idea. I got no idea how old the moulds are on this kit because it's the old Aurora Godzilla kit. It's been reboxed by Polar Lights.
Well, how long has Aurora been out of business?
Oh God, 20 odd years, if not longer.
Have you checked on the scale, mates? That'll probably tell you.
No.
It's not the glow-in-the-dark one, is it?
No, it's the big 15-inch tall one.
That disappoints me. I love glow-in-the-dark things.
Yeah, me too. I used to have a glow-in-the-dark skull.
Oh,
that was great. That was fantastic. And I remember Revell also did the glow-in-the-dark pirate ship.
Oh, right. I think they still do it.
Yeah, I think that's
Wouldn't
still
surprise
there.
me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Have you ever seen the SMS glow-in-the-dark paints?
Not actually applied, but I have seen the photos that they've got them.
I remember Brian from
War Games.
War Games Hobbies. Yeah, he brought some SMS paints down, and I snuck off with the glow-in-the-dark paint into the toilet and turned off the light, and boy, it glows in the dark.
It
It's
does.
very impressive.
Are you talking about your paint? You are, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise I'd be going to see a doctor real quick. It glows.
Well, I suppose they could come. The glow in the dark paint could come in handy if you're doing like a Chernobyl 20 years later kind of diorama kind of thing.
Yes. Very handy for the sci-fi guys.
But how would you display it at a model show? You'd have to put it in a dark box so people could peek in.
Actually, no. There was a guy who was at Expo last year who did a fantasy miniature.
Yeah.
And it was a wizard's, like a little wizard's room with all bottles and so forth. And he had like a special light.
Ah, UV lights.
And when you shone the UV...
Or black light, yeah.
and then the colours, all the fluoro colours would pop out.
Wow. Very smart cookie.
Yeah.
Very clever cookie.
Well, what have I been doing? I've just been still going along with my Polish tank. Unusually for me, I'm just building one kit at a time at the moment.
Good.
And I'm waiting for some, because I'm going to do a digicam, so I'm waiting for some masking sets to come in. And then I'll start sort of painting that up. But we'll get into this when we talk about armour later on.
Yeah,
but I'm sort of building it like a ship, as if I'd build a ship, the way I do the painting. So
Interesting.
we'll have a
All
chat about that
sub-assemblies.
later on.
Is it going to have a boot line on it?
No, it's not going to have a boot line. Sorry to disappoint you, Robert, but no.
Remember, work the rigging from the inside out. And
Well, I guess I can touch it. I mean, I'm leaving things like there's lights you got to put it inside the hull and everything. And what I'm planning to do is I'm not going to glue the hull together, then do the digicam. I'm going to just lightly tack the hull together, then do the paint job, and then I'll be able to add all the stuff in without having to mask it, like the headlights and the tail lights and various other odds and sods.
Yep.
And then I'll glue it together, much like sub-assembly, like I would if I was building a ship.
Yep. Good idea.
We'll see how that works out.
it requires confidence in the fit, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm quietly confident. I've done all the, test fitting and everything, so it's...
Well, that's actually a bit interesting because someone's building one of those kits at the moment on missing links in the constructive comments part. And he's had some fit problems.
I've had some fit problems as well with the turret.
Yeah.
The hull's been not too bad. A little bit of flash here and there.
Right.
But...
Flash in this day and age.
Yeah, surprisingly. Not a huge amount, just like a hair sort of flash line along the edge of the kit itself.
Yep.
But it's easily remedied. Just get a sharp knife and just bang, off you go. So, yeah, but by and large, it looks pretty good. And I'll save the track issue when we're talking about armour because
Sure.
I'm going to reach out to you guys about some of the things.
Yeah, cool.
So, having said that, how about we dive into listener mail? And oh boy, do we have a lot of listener mail to get through.
All right.
So, first of all, and you guys
What
can't...
the heck are you doing? You're printing on A3 paper.
Well, what I did was I printed off all the emails and I went to the printer. Instead of printing A4, it printed off in A3. So I'm here with... I feel like I'm reading a broadsheet newspaper.
And the funny thing is, like, all the text is in, like, the top third of the piece of paper.
Yeah, I know.
And the rest of it's blank.
I would just grabbed a pair of scissors.
It's not very environmentally
No,
friendly.
but yeah.
Oh. We're modelers. We're not environmentally friendly.
That's true.
Jeffrey Bench writes in, hello, Dave, Julian and Ian.
Hello, Jeffrey.
I just finished listening to your most recent podcast and your discussion about paint inventory apps for your phone. I use an app called iModel Kit for my phone. There is both a free version and a paid version. It allows for scanning of barcodes and many paint manufacturers, including some artist oils. There are also a number of other functions that I have not used, as I use it mainly to keep track of my paint. I enjoy the podcast, and I have learnt a lot through the many guests and topics you guys have covered. I look forward to each new episode. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
And on the same vein, we also got an email from Simon Thomas saying, hey, legends! Simon here from Queensland. Latest episode, you discussed the phone apps for the paint inventory. Android has a great free app called Hobby Colour Converter that includes a big range of all the major companies, including their sub-ranges of washes and pigments. And all items can be checked as inventory or checked as shopping lists, so you know what you need, as each colour will show its equivalent from other brands as well as RLM and RAL colours. Also has a great scale converter calculator too. Hopes this helps. Cheers. From Simon.
That's great.
So, and on top of that, there was also quite a few Facebook messages, but I ended up getting, and I've got to find it now on my phone while I quickly go through it. Oh, here it is, called Model Colours. is the app that I've decided to use, and that does actually scan your paints, the barcode off your paints. And then you can just set it up with a list that you want, your favourites, and it does washes and a whole heap of other stuff as well. But I also use another one called Model Paints. And the beauty about this one is it's uses the camera on your phone, so you just swish it over your particular colour that you're looking for, and it'll tell you what the colour is. So that helps you then go off and actually find... So if you're in a museum or something like that, or and then you see a paint, on the side of a tank or whatever, and you go, oh, what colour is that?
Yeah.
And you go, click and it'll tell you. So I thought it was pretty cool.
That's clever.
So,
very.
and I also do have that other one that was spoken about, the model kit as well, but I haven't really got around to using that yet. So I think if I get more than 3 at a go, I'll sort of confuse myself a bit. So
It's not too difficult to do.
I'm just wondering, with all these apps for the paints, is that just a sign you have too many paints?
no,
Probably.
it's a sign that I can't remember how many paints I've got. So when I go out to the hobby store, I go, oh, I don't think I've got that. And of course I come home to find I've already got 2 tins of it, so
Yeah.
or 2 bottles of it.
Like when we went to the hobby shop and I bought 2 pots of guns.
Jesus.
Black and white. Came back home and realised I had 3 pots already sitting there of each colour.
So
Now I've got 4.
all I need now is just a another one that I can use for my stash, and I'll be laughing.
Okay.
Excel spreadsheet. Keep going.
Also, scale mates, they've got like a...
I can't seem to use scale mates.
Right.
That's the thing. I know I struggle with it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I just can't get it right.
Perhaps you're not doing
you
anything
know
wrong.
what you're doing wrong?
What?
You're over 16 years old. That's what you're doing wrong.
Well, Skullmates is probably over 16 years old as well.
Yeah.
Like Skullmates to me is a great resource to find out the origins of certain kits and who made
Yes.
what. I don't use it for anything more than that because I find it a bit too clunky to use.
Oh, right. Fair enough.
I like clunky.
Is clunky is good.
That's why we have you on this podcast.
That's the reason. That's the reason.
Things that go clunk.
Our good friend Paul Gloucester from Queensland writes in,
Hi,
hello,
Paul.
benches. Julian, this is for you.
Ooh.
Oh, to me.
Digital vernier calipers are one of the best modelling tools you can ever have.
Yes.
I picked up some in Japan a few years ago thinking I may find a use for them and have not built a kit since without using them multiple times.
So there.
Some of the things I use them for include simple measuring of the inside of the fuselage, wheel wells and intakes to create plastic card bulkheads when you need blanking off. Equal spacing of many, many different things on the kit like exhaust, aerials, and things like measuring wingtip distance to a flat surface to make sure the legs are even. When you flatten the wheels down with sanding, you can that way make sure that both wheels are even.
Yes.
That makes sense. Measuring etch metal or resin parts before I put them in the kit to make sure they fit first. It's very handy for measuring other replacement kit parts, especially things like gun barrels, etc., when you're using Albion Alloys tubing or evergreen rod. I also use mine to measure the distance of things like roundel decals on wings so that both sides are equal. If it's a 5.4 millimetre on one wing, it's therefore going to be 5.4 millimetres on the other wing.
Yes.
Wow, that's a good idea.
Finally, when creating Tamiya paint masks for wheels, etc., just measure the area to be covered, i.e. the wheel hub, and then you can cut it exactly to shape. Trust me, you'll find 1,000 ways to use them, Julian. For Dave and Ian, seeing you are already on the digital caliper bus, we can talk albums. How about Led Zeppelin from Led Zeppelin 1 or the Boeing 727 from the Beastie Boys album? Cheers, Paul.
There you go. Two more album covers with modelling subjects.
Yeah, of course, the Zeppelin from Led Zeppelin. Yeah,
Yes.
forgot that one.
And don't forget the helicopter from the ABBA Arrival album.
Oh yes, ABBA Arrival. Yes.
In my
True.
defence, I don't do a lot of scratch building. But if I did,
No, not for scratch building even, just for basic measuring. Did you not hear what he did? What
yeah,
Paul just did?
I know, but a lot of it was like measuring things to be blanked off. I don't blank things off.
I do like the idea of getting symmetrical decals. That because I always worry, is it the right spot?
Yeah.
Backwards and forwards.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just eyeball it.
Yeah.
And no one's complaining about my positioning so far.
Oh,
Well, not to your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, like I don't do a lot of scratch building, and I reckon it would probably be more useful the smaller scale you work in, because small distances that are incorrect, like not the same on each side, are super noticeable, even if you can't tell. Like your eye picks up on it, even though you look at it and you're like, well, that looks about 1 millimeter, and that looks about 1 millimeter, but you know that something's not quite right because it's not. You can just tell, all right?
Yeah.
Well, the best way to find out if you're really happy is just take a photo of your kit.
Yeah.
A photo will show you will pick
Everything,
up faults a lot more in a photo than just looking at the kit right in front of you.
Yeah, I know.
Weird, isn't it?
I've done that.
I actually reckon Julian will get one if they come out in a red anodised finish.
Come on.
So he can match all his
I don't have that
tools.
much red anodised stuff, all right?
They're only $20 at Bunnings. They're dirt cheap.
You probably get one with a Hello Kitty.
And it's a tool, Julian. You love tools more than models.
Yeah, but as long I buy things that I use, and I don't know if I'd actually use it.
You've just heard all the uses.
don't. I've got tools I don't use, and I consider throwing them out.
Throw them my way.
Okay.
I'll take them.
I've got to say, my latest tool is great.
What's your latest tool?
Me little a Zito style Dremel tool.
Oh yeah.
It's an awesome thing. That
Is that the one on the?
It's got the long swivelly thing.
Yeah. How do you describe those? It's a
extension.
No, it's
like a cable thing.
Yeah, it's Oh geez, I remember we used to use them at work because we actually had the same style with whippersnippers. You got the motor on a backpack, and you got this big flexible. Yeah, it's like a flexible shaft. That's what it's called. Flexible drive. Yes.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
I looked at one of those at Bunnings one time a while back, and it just looked too big for modelling. But you might have got a smaller one.
Perfect, because the one I bought it's branded as Zito.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty much identical to the Dremel.
Right.
3-year warranty. A third the cost.
Right. Sounds a lot smaller than
Dremel bits fit perfectly.
Yep.
And it even fits. And I was looking at the drill press because I might get the drill press in the next few weeks for it.
That sounds like something Paul Budzik would have.
Yes.
That sort of flexible.
It sounds like the sort of thing that Paul Budzik would criticise for not being good enough to meet his incredibly high standards.
Well, possibly.
But no, I found it very, especially when I was doing the grinding back all the bits, all the skin folds and that on the big Godzilla kit.
Yeah. I don't think you could attempt that kit without one of those.
No, I wouldn't have been able to do it without that kit. And I ended up with a good handful of just green plastic.
Why is Godzilla so flabby that he's got all these skin folds?
Oh, because it's just some little Japanese guy in a big rubber suit.
We got another email in from, another email, I should say, from Alan Gills, and he's asking, are any two aircraft exactly the same?
Usually not.
There's a bit more to it, actually, because he goes into it in a bit more detail, and it's quite amusing what he writes. So he goes, hi, guys, love the show. While listening to your latest, I heard Ian say something about references contradicting each other, and that got me thinking. I used to fly as a hobby, especially gliders, and the club I was in had two, I'm probably going to get these names wrong, had two Schlitzer K7s and Rondeleur for training, and another two K8 single-seaters.
Can I just break in for a second here?
Sure.
Google Translate has got a button, you press it and it pronounces it for you.
While I'm talking.
Well, you could actually press the button and not say the word and just let Google Translate do it.
Ah, there you go.
Oh, that's going to make Dave's conversations very interesting. Every second word will be some electronic garble.
Well, it's funny because Michelle has is it Siri on Apple, and she's got her set up as an Irish guy.
Oh, right.
And he talks to her like this.
Fantastic.
Anyway, moving on.
Yep.
So Alan goes on to say, there were so many detailed differences between the K7 gliders and between the two K8s, it wasn't even funny, especially when you're looking for cockpit details. For example, none of them had the same instrument layout. They had different harnesses, the map pockets were all in the same place, but two of them had zippered closures and the others had some kind of elastic around the top. A couple of them had sliding canopy vent windows, and at least one just folded into the cockpit on the hinge. One of the K7s had a floor, except where your feet went, while the other one had a full plywood floor. Don't even ask how hard it made cleaning up after a sick passenger.
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if all references contradicted each other at all the time, especially in those small details. I doubt there is any such thing as 100% correct at the finest of detail levels for anything unless you're going to be for a specific vehicle and have pictures that were taken pretty much all at once. Anyway, just my random thoughts while driving home, listening to that episode. Cheers, Alan from Nova Scotia, Canada.
Thanks, Alan.
Well,
I know one of the most difficult aircraft to do proper research is a Messerschmitt 109.
It's difficult.
Those things were, everyone was different because they were all handcrafted.
Yeah, but there's about 1,000 books. I would have thought there's a book for every single one of them.
No, there probably would be by now, but every one was slightly different.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was going to say. I mean, like all the American stuff was mass manufactured.
Yeah.
But even then, over time, you'd probably get repairs and things like that, little differences, you know.
Well, I reckon you could get 2 Mark 1 Spitfires and you wouldn't be able to swap the wings over.
No, they were made in Britain.
Yeah. But the other thing too with the Spitfires is I remember reading about they were doing a restoration somewhere and they were speaking to an old guy who worked in one of the submarine factories during the Second World War, and they were having trouble getting the wings on. And he was there. He said, "Just get me the biggest sledgehammer you got," and that's what they used.
Okay.
Big sledgehammer. Force those pins in.
Bet that doesn't happen in Germany. They'd have all fitted perfectly.
Oh, they would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Lee Edmonds writes in, Dear gents, thanks for your good shows, which I always look forward to. I was just listening to your comments on airbrushes. I've had many over the years, but these days I only have 3. The Badger Patriot, a Badger Extreme Patriot, and a Badger Sotar. I like the Sotar. Each has a specific purpose and they are easy to use and very easy to keep clean. I bought them all at special prices when I saw them on eBay at various times. As for service, I had trouble with the Patriot and sent the broken parts back to Badger in Chicago, and they returned it back 3 weeks later, fully repaired at no charge. Wow.
That's
really
good. That's good. Very good customer service.
Lee also goes on to say, as for glue, don't forget SMS extra thin cement, which is all I use these days. I think it is at least the equal of Tamiya extra thin. The only disadvantage is it comes in a tall, thin bottle, which is easy to knock over.
So that's where the Tamiya extra thin's handy because Despair made that little aluminium
to make it even harder to knock over.
Yeah, which I bought and I haven't knocked over me Tamiya yet since buying that thing.
Speaking of airbrushes, have you ever heard back from that young lady in Scotland who was looking for?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Did he get his airbrush?
He came up with a solution, and it's been that long ago now. I'm struggling to recall what it was, but
you need an app for that.
But what was but what was really I found touching is that we had quite a few of our listeners actually, write in and say I've got an old one.
Well, that was nice.
Happy to donate it and all this, but I believe the young lad got himself sorted in the end. Which
That's good to hear.
Good news. I hope he's doing well with it.
So do I.
And enjoying it.
Yep.
Craig Stanley writes in, Hi guys, thanks for the great podcast. Always interesting, informative, and never fails to make me laugh at least once. Ian is always saying that photo etch is your friend, but
he's a liar.
It is my friend. I love my photo etch.
But unfortunately, it seems to be the dreaded carpet monster's favourite food. You may already know about this, but here goes. I've recently started using one of those acrylic plastic chair mats, which has been a lifesaver. For PE and plastic parts that fall off the bench or just drop out of your tweezers, fingers into your lap or on the floor, it makes it so much easier to find them and saves a lot of time otherwise spent on your hands and knees cursing like a sailor.
Yes.
However, if you're holding too tight and it zings off across the room, it's not going to help you, I'm afraid. You're back to dueling with the carpet monster.
Yep.
Cheers from Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
And also, Craig comes from Canberra, so...
Here's a thought for just putting something underneath you. How would you go with like a kiddie pool? Like if you filled it with a few inches of water, things would just drop and they wouldn't bounce. They'd just...
Well, funnily, I was thinking about this of all things. I was thinking of this last night.
Yeah.
Well, actually, on cutting photo etch, and I'm going to try it this weekend. A sheet of wet and dry sandpaper.
What?
Some 800 grit or some 1200 grit, and just lay your sheet on that and cut on that because I reckon that there's a less chance of it moving. You're working on a black surface.
Oh, I see where you're coming. Yeah.
You don't go for some people say put it in a plastic bag. And
Yeah, so I know earlier on, I think it was a year or so ago, one of our listeners put in, he made a special box.
Yeah, you stick your hands
right,
inside.
okay.
It was almost like the same sort of boxes you see people when they're doing sandblasting, small top sandblasting, yeah.
Or creating creatures they shouldn't.
yes,
Exactly.
then they get a cut in their glove and
Yeah, that's it. It's all over.
I'll hear how you go with trying that new method there.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a go. See if it works.
So you're actually going to wet it.
Ooh.
So if
That'd
you-
make
if
it
you-
stick even better,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
if you wet the sand.
Because what I was thinking a material that would stick to but not be stuck to, if you know what I mean.
like neoprene would work too.
Yeah, but it can't be too spongy.
Yeah, neoprene's too spongy.
It's got to be something that's, because you're cutting photo etch, you're cutting on a spongy material, you're going to bend your photo etch.
Yeah.
So it's just an experiment I'm going to try and see if it works, and we'll find out next podcast if it was a failure or if it was a goer.
if only
All
brass
right.
was magnetic too, you could just put it on a magnet. It wouldn't go anywhere.
Only by steel photo etch.
Well, you can't buy stainless. Tamiya do stainless steel photo etch.
Yeah, it's one of the things that people don't like about them.
Oh no, it's
Stuff's horrible to try and bend.
No, it's good.
No, I reckon the worst photo etch was the stuff you used to get in the Dragon aircraft kits.
That was hard, wasn't
Oh,
it?
they're Focke-Wulf 190s. They had this one piece that it's like a brace that sits behind the pilot's seat and goes towards the back of the canopy. And
Oh, that big long flat piece.
yeah,
I know that
and the
piece,
thing
yeah,
is it's got these two little wing bits that you have to fold down, and because it's got like this channel running the whole way through, as soon as you try and bend these over, it bends in the middle where the channel is. Oh, it's just a nightmare.
Very well designed.
Oh yeah, horrible stuff.
Ian Macaulay writes in.
He must be a good guy. He's called Ian.
Wait to get a bit more deeper in the email. You're going to love these guys. Good morning, gentlemen. I've been meaning to write for a while. I'm home sick with the cold today, so it seems like the perfect opportunity. I'm located in Ottawa, the capital city of Canada, home of only mediocre model podcasts he likes. I built my first model in 1970 when I was 7 years old, and except for the usual break for girls and cars, I've been building ever since. I'm not much of a computer guy, so I had never really listened to the podcast before, but about 6 months ago, a buddy of mine discovered your show and told me they had to tune in. He said they sound just like us. He was referring to himself and the other mates he gets together with every Thursday evening to do what they like to call the 4 Bs. Building, banter, bullshit, and of course beer.
Hey, that's a good night.
He says we chat about all aspects of the hobby, get some regular building in, sample the wares of the local microbreweries, and I have to agree with him, your podcast does sound like a lot of fun. Ian has gone on to write a whole heap of other stuff in regards to some ideas he's got, which I think we might touch on another time, but because he's... Ian, you write a lot. And, I thought it was a classic. And I wrote back to him and said perhaps they should... Because I said to him, if you get more than 2 modelers together, it's technically a club. Yeah. And I'm based on that, they should call it the 4Bs Club.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, Dave. Yes.
And, of course, Ian was kind enough to become a Patreon supporter as well.
Good on you,
which we
Ian. You're a
thank
good
him
bloke.
very much as well. So... Yeah, cool. All right, next one. Tony Jacob wrote in. Tony. He says, what do you do to fix modeller's block? I've got a bow fighter waiting in its final have its final weathering stage, and I'm paralysed by deciding which way to go with it. The darn thing is sitting on my bench laughing at me, and the more I think about what to do next, the harder it seems to be able to start. Never had it happen before, since weathering is usually my favourite part of any kit.
Yep.
It's driving me bonkers. Cheers, Tony. So I wrote back to him. And I said, Tony, I usually just bench it like that and start on something completely different, or go and watch a whole heap of YouTube videos about the very thing you're stuck on. Mostly, though, I tend to bench it as I find that the subject that I'm either stuck on or afraid to progress with certain elements somehow seems easy to tackle after I put it away for a while. And I went on to say that I'll pose a question to you guys. So, how do you guys deal with modeller's block?
It's a radical
Modeller's
thought. Maybe you
block.
could just smash that model that's laughing at you. Just smash it.
No.
It'd feel good, wouldn't it?
No.
No.
Not if you spent...
Say, laugh at me, smash you.
What if it's one of the Hong Kong models Lancaster, or God forbid, you're going to
Nothing
spend
of
all
value
that
would
money?
be lost.
Yes.
I'm struggling figuring out where to position the aircraft on the Shikaku. Oh, bugger it, I'll grab a sledgehammer.
I'm sure there'd be some feelings of remorse afterwards.
Oh, definitely. No, modelling block, with me, I usually just, as Dave said, I put it aside and I'll just tackle something different. Usually I find tackle something fun, like science fiction or fantasy, something where you don't have to be specifically worried about the colours and the look. So you're just getting back into it and enjoying it.
Yep.
Well,
That's
as a
my
hobby,
way anyway.
You shouldn't be having too much stress over it. It is your hobby, right? I mean, stress is what we go to work for.
Yeah, but we do stress if we over our kits. Okay, I stress over some of my kits.
Yeah, I mean, some stress is good. I mean, they can keep you on your toes when you're doing the delicate work. But if you're not having fun anymore,
If you're not having fun, put it aside.
Like it's dragged you down, and it's just a chore to work on.
I had that with the buffalo, little buffalo I'm building. They were starting to annoy me, so I put it aside and started the big Godzilla.
Was it because you were uncertain about colours and stuff?
I've got the colours all sorted out, but I got up to the actual wiring the engine,
Right.
and
Just didn't want to do it.
yeah, basically, I cut out my wires, bent them, and glued 2 wires, spark plug leads on, and thought, I really don't want to do this for a while.
Okay.
So
Put it back in the box.
Put a tarp on it.
doesn't the buffalo have a spinner?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Anything with a spinner, I wouldn't bother doing wiring on.
Oh, you're going to see it because it's silver wiring on black cylinders.
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
You've got to do it, eh?
Yeah. Oh, I made the ring for it. I made the ignition harness.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like once
Had
you
to
start,
do all
once
the-
you
had to
start
do all the push rods.
chopping certain things up, you can only go forward, right?
Yeah. That's the thing, that those quick boost motors are really nice, but you got to add to them. You got to add your push rods and your wiring.
Well, Tony was, I don't want to say foolish, but Tony was crazy enough to say that, wrote back to me and said, now I'll probably get stuck on which kit to take out of my stash. So I said to him, send me a picture of your stash and I'll choose one for you.
Oh, right. No, we can do that. We can do that. If you got a picture.
So he sent me 2 pictures of his stashes.
Let's have a look at Tony's stash.
But guys, I've already chosen for him though.
That's all right. He may not have started.
Did you
We
blow,
might
did you
change
blow
his
it up
mind.
to the full size of the A3?
Well, it came out at A3, so
What have we got here?
you got a few things in there that you can
Okay,
choose
let's
from.
see. What have we got? What's? Oh, you got some nice kits there. Ooh.
So sound out what kits you're seeing there, Ian.
Oh, I'm checking out. He's got the Edward F6 F5N Hellcat.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a beautiful kit to build. Oh, come on. He's got the Tamiya Wildcat. That's a easy peasy kit to build. That thing just falls together. He's got a lot of...
And there's another page here, so you see if you guys
Nice
can choose
kits.
which one I told him to build.
Well, I reckon he should build the, from what I saw, what was... Yeah, the Wildcat so far.
Well, if he's having trouble with the plane, perhaps a tank might be good.
Oh, actually, no, even better. Quick and easy. You've got a Collins-class submarine. Build that.
There you go, and that's exactly what I said to him as well.
No,
Whatever.
but you're a ship guy.
No, I saw. I barely glanced at that other image that you've got over there, but I saw the Aussie Easy 8 from Edward. I'd pick that one.
But the thing is, I'm going to have to go, after seeing these photos, I'm going to have to go home and check my stash.
You know-
There's a lot of stuff in there that's in my stash, so I don't know. Are these my kits or his?
See, the reason why I picked the Aussie Easy 8 is because so many people buy that and nobody builds it.
So just for the listeners out there who haven't seen the Aussie Easy 8, it is a...
It's
a
Easy
dual
8,
boxing.
It's just
Well,
called the
Spitfires.
Aussie 8.
Yeah.
Spitfire Mark 8s.
Yeah.
You get 2 of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And was it 31 different
Decals.
decal schemes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to put my oar in.
Yep. Sure.
Because I see here the Tamiya Cromwell Mark IV. That restored my mojo, that kit. It is super easy to make.
There you go.
There you go.
So you got a
indeed.
couple of choices there. You got a
Yeah,
Collins
what's
class
confused him
submarine.
Well, it just means that I'm sure he has a preference of whether he wants to build a ship, a tank, or a plane, right?
This is
Yeah.
true. Yep.
Very
So
true.
we've given him an option for each.
Yep.
All right, guys. Now, what we have got is before we kick into what's new. And thanks everybody for writing in. If you do want to send us an email, you can send it to onthebench64@gmail.com, or just go to our Facebook page and there's a button there to push, which will send me an email. So either way, we're really loving and enjoying the emails you're sending in. So if you want to write to us, feel free to. What we have got now is we've got our first...
But before you go any further,
yeah,
listeners, big letters for Dave, please.
How about some abusive ones? Have you had any of those?
Yeah, I have, but I don't read them out.
Oh, okay, right.
Because I don't want to upset Ian or Julian.
Okay. So they're pointed at us, are they?
Everybody joking.
So you got those ones.
Okay, we've got our first report from our foreign correspondent, from Mike.
Oh, so excellent.
I thought we'll play that up next, and that'll be a good lead-in for our what's new in the modelling world. And then we can go into talking about armour. How's that sound?
Sounds like a plan, mate.
Sounds good.
All right, let's have a listen to what Mike's got to say.
Hey benchers, it's Mike here, flexing my newly found European correspondent muscles. Today I'm going to talk into real world. It's not necessarily scale modelling, but it's inspiration for scale modelling. So Nellis Air Force Base in the US, those who don't know, they run the Aggressor Squadron. So they specialise in adversary tactics, and they run exercises every year, multiple exercises every year. So allied nations in the US basically get the best training before they go into actual combat. As a result of this, they paint up their aircraft in really cool looking schemes. And they've announced recently, after a Facebook poll run by the US Air Force, the latest F-16 colour scheme is going to be called the Wraith. And it looks really cool. It's all black with like red trim lines for the no tread markings. You got like red stars on the wings, red tail markings. It just looks really cool. I've sent the link to you guys over there. Maybe you can have a peek, but it essentially makes me want to build all of the aggressor aircraft in all their colours, which is not going to be good for the wallet, but it's cool nonetheless. So moving on to Telford. So this weekend, 9th and 10th of November, at the International Centre in Telford. Saturday, looking at a 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. 0900 if you are an IPMS member. If you are an IPS member, it's free to get in. If not, it's £12 on the door in cash only. Try to bring the correct change if you can. And the Sunday, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m, 9 a.m. again for IPMS members, and that's a £10 entry fee on that day unless you're a member, as I already said. And at 11 a.m. on the Sunday, there'll be 2-minute silence because it's Remembrance Sunday. So Telford's massive, as I'm sure everyone knows. 3 main display halls for all the traders, groups, thousands of models on display. You can spend all day just looking at some incredible modelling. Plenty of traders there, so you can pick up lots of good deals and loads of models. I'm going to have to budget myself, otherwise I'll just be spending all my money. So we've got 3 main display halls, on a 4th, which is a competition hall. The competition hall usually sees over 1,000 entries in 100 different categories. Hugely looking forward to that. Also, coming back to the scale modelling tooling announcement on this, Airfix at 11 a.m. on Saturday are going to make a new tooling announcement. Don't know what it is, but looking forward to finding out what that is. So I'll be reporting back on that after the show. So finally, one hobby outlet that I'm particularly enjoying at the moment, some content that I'm consuming and enjoying. It's sort of a double tapped one. So YouTube, it's Miniac. So that's mini with AC on the end, all one word. So it's run by Scott. He's a display painter, paints a lot of minis and talks hobby painting. He's a full-time YouTuber, really good, really high production, incredible artist, like really goes deep. Because I find with a lot of stuff you see how good people have painted it, you know how to paint it, but you don't know a lot of the theory behind what they're actually doing. And what I've seen of Scott, he tends to talk about colour theory and different types of highlighting, just to try and, for me, it's a different lesson, trying to understand the theory of what you're doing, not necessarily just how to do something. So I find that really interesting. He's a funny guy as well, runs like really good skits. And regarding their skits, actually, he has a mate called John who often sort of gets involved, and he's been on the show a few times on YouTube. And they've recently started the second half of this hobby outlet that I'm particularly enjoying, which is the new podcast Trapped Under Plastic. I know it's been mentioned before, but it's a joint podcast run by Scott and John. They talk about mini painting again. They've got really good chemistry, have a good laugh. Talk a lot about minis outside of Games Workshop as well, which is I think it's really good for learning about other companies, because a lot of the time you think of minis and you immediately go to GW. So it's good to hear about lots of other companies and what they release and what their products are and how good those products actually are. And they talk about things like airbrushing and competitions and all that kind of other stuff. So that's really good. So those are 2 recommendations: Miniac on YouTube and Trapped Under Plastic podcast. I know for the podcast, Julian, I think I know you're a fan already, if memory serves me rightly, and Ian, you'll probably enjoy the fact Scott's a massive metalhead, so I'm sure you'll get a kick out of that. Anyway, that's all from me. Anyone who wants to reach out to me can do so by oh my god, come my words out. Anyone who wants to reach out can do so by emailing me at mikeonthebench@gmail.com. Any questions, send them my way.
So there you go, our first report back from our reporter foreign correspondent in Europe.
Fantastic.
Oh, gee, Telford next weekend.
Just wish you were there.
This weekend?
This weekend, yeah. I do.
Mm-hmm.
One day we'll get there, Jess.
One day we'll get there.
It'll be awesome.
One day we might surprise people.
Yeah. So what do you reckon in the Airfix announcement's going to be?
F6, F3.
Whatever people guess will be wrong.
Yeah, the only reason I'm saying that is because last year was the F6, F5.
Well,
So all I got to do is just add the little window and change a panel line on the engine cowl, and it's done.
No, I'm backing it's going to be the Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier.
No.
In your dreams.
It'll never happen.
It'd have to be. Why? I mean, think about it. It's been that popular of a ship or class of ship, and it's always in the news. How could they not go
Actually, a fully detailed 124 scale Vickers cow fighter.
Vickers cow fighter?
Mm.
What's a cow fighter?
You've got more chance of getting your aircraft carrier.
What's a cow
Vickers
fighter?
cow fighter. It was an awesome thing. It was, and basically it was one of those pusher type aircraft from between the wars.
Yeah.
So all over silver, little round cockpit at the front, twin booms with a tail at the back, and a little pusher engine. And it had this big Vickers I think it was like a mini anti-tank gun that sat on about a 45-degree angle on the side of the cockpit.
Like Schrager music.
Yeah. I've got one in 148 scale to build in my stash, but it's just one of the coolest looking things. That and a Westland pterodactyl. If anyone ever brings out a good Westland pterodactyl, I'm sold.
You're supposed to be making good guesses, all right? So my good guess would be a Spitfire of some description.
Oh, come on. It's another Spitfire.
It's Airfix. If there's one thing that they do is they release a Spitfire every couple of years.
What about a Hurricane?
Don't they already have one? Or
They do.
They already have Spitfires as well.
Yeah, but I suppose there's just as much chance of that, but there's more chance of Spitfires because, it's Spitfires and it's Airfix.
Well, either way, I think
Actually, what would be really cool, and I know it won't happen, a good Beaufort.
Well, maybe in 72. They have someone we know that spoke
No
to
one
them.
makes a good late model Beaufort.
Well,
like a DAP Beaufort.
Yeah, but it'll only 72.
I've got one, but it's the old Contrail vac form, which I'll never build because I open the box and go, this is scary.
Yeah.
So Ian wants a Beaufort.
Yep, a DAP Beaufort.
Right. Well, they're not going to do a DAP one. So it's an Australian-built one.
Yep.
Manufactured at Fisherman's Bend.
Correct, not far from here.
I'm going for a aircraft carrier.
Mm-hmm.
Can I make a completely wrong guess?
Yes, go, Robert.
I would suggest a 72nd scale Ju-88-1.
Ooh.
To fit in with that, they've been making Battle of Britain aircraft.
What scale?
72nd scale.
Okay.
They will not do 48.
All right.
So
Julian?
I'm just
he doesn't
on
care.
some
You said Spitfire.
Some variant of Spitfire, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Statistically,
We'll stay tuned.
I've got the most likelihood, all right? Because they've got a lot of Spitfires already.
Yeah,
and they're always going to bring out.
Actually, they could do a high-back 14 in 48 scale.
I don't care. It's all like variations of Spitfire.
It's a Spitfire.
How about we roll into what's new in the
Yeah,
modelling
let's
world?
have
How's
what's
that
new in
sound?
the modelling world.
First of all, we got an announcement from Hobby Boss. They are doing in 1/35th scale, a Russian KRAZ 260B tractor with the semi-trail on the back. And this was a mainstay of Russian heavy-duty military tractors through the Cold War. And it seems to be a bit of a thing at the moment where manufacturers are doing Russian trucks and trailers, the military theme. I guess because once you do the main sort of truck, you can sort of, it's easy to sort of make up the
just chuck a tank on it.
It's both a model and a base for a tank.
Exactly.
Actually, yeah, you're right there, Julian. You're spot on. So it looks to be. I mean, Hobby Boss don't do bad stuff.
I've built a couple of their armour kits. They're quite nice.
I'd classify them as a mid-range model company.
Yep.
And and it's quite enjoyable, some of the stuff that they produce. So this kit's coming out with 630 parts, a total of 19 sprues, including the tyres and also the semi-trailer. The kit length is going to be just over half a metre, 671 millimetres. Excuse me, and about 100 millimetres wide.
Well, you get three photo etch frets.
Well, what's not to like?
And a ton of tyres.
Yeah, I think they're rubber though, aren't they? Or that's vinyl.
All right.
That's a lot to replace in resin, isn't it?
It is a lot to replace, yeah.
Definitely agree.
Next up from
Hobby Boss.
Thank you, Hobby Boss still, is a PLA 59 medium tank earlier model in 1/35th scale. So this is a medium tank of the People's Republic of China, which they were licensed to produce.
A Russian one, wouldn't it, really?
I think there might have been some slight variances and differences.
Yeah, I believe the Russian one, the Chinese ones are like sort of rip-offs of the Russian ones.
Well, they were produced under license in China.
Yeah.
And it's based on these T54. So they use these right up until the 1980s. And they're saying more than 10,000 of the PLA 59s. That can't be right. More than 10,000 were produced.
They sold them. They sold them to other people. The Iraqis were using Chinese tanks during, Desert Storm and Gulf War and stuff.
Oh, well, that's a huge amount. They're using slide moulding in this particular one as well. So the turret and lower part of the body should be easy to connect and assemble. And we're looking at some of the pictures of the actual
sprues.
Thank you, Ian. And it looks, quite reasonable. I think it'll be an enjoyable build, actually, for those of you who enjoy doing your Cold War era Sono.
Could you scroll
Soviet
up a little bit?
Tanks. Scroll that way.
Up.
Yeah.
Up a bit.
What's Julian looking
Because someone else, I think, mentioned this to me, and it's got a slide molded barrel.
Good.
It's got a rubberized mantlet kind of thing, because it's got that sort of canvasy
sleeve,
shroud.
Yep.
And I believe it's also got one-piece slide molded fuel tanks for on the back.
Oh, it does too.
Right.
Wow.
Which is a bit of a step forward for Hobby Boss.
Yeah.
There's one thing I like about Hobby Boss and Trumpeter kits is that they give you a piece of wire for the tow cables.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Oh, is it?
Lots of wire, especially from dragging. It seems to be too coarse.
Yeah.
It seems to be about the right
So it's in
size.
scale. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well done to Hobby Boss then. Italeri.
Dave's favourite company.
Yeah, not at the moment. They're doing in 1/35th scale an M1A2 Abrams tank with crew. So, do you think it'd be enough of them out? Maybe I don't think it's a new model kit so much as maybe the crew are new because it contains 5 figures to go with it. So I'd have to check with scale mates to see if there's just a reboxing, which I suspect.
So it's got markings for US and Iraqi machines.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Iraqi. It's funny you don't think of Iraqis using the Abrams tank, but they do because they've been bought from the US.
Well, they're part of the World Bank now, aren't they? So they've got no choice.
Is there an ISIS one too?
Cut it out, guys. All right, I'm going to go straight to the next one now. It's the FA-18E Super Hornet in 1/48 scale. Price is €33. It comes with 3 different versions, all of them US. So one's going to be for the
VFA 137, the Kestrels.
Yep, thank you. Next one is VAF 195, the Dam Busters. I didn't know the American Navy had a Dam Buster squadron.
Yeah, they do.
Did they really? Well, do they really?
They do, yeah.
Wow.
So if
Was
the
in
Americans made a Dam Busters movie, it'd be quite different to what we'd be
It would be.
expecting.
Definitely. and the third one is, the famous Top Hatters squadron.
Yeah. Very famous top headers. You know, it looks like it'll build a reasonable kit, but I'm just wondering whether it's a Reeboks or a new moulding.
Yeah.
I
Tell
wonder
me
if it's
either
the
way.
Hasegawa kit.
Well,
Well, that too, because Italeri does a lot of reboxing of Hasegawa kits.
I'd just double check and open to make sure it's not a Hella kit.
Yeah, so always
That's
do
what
your
I'd be
research first.
Too true.
Next up from Italeri, you have a Porsche 944 in 1/24 scale.
Oh, it's the S model Cabrio.
There we go.
It's a Porsche.
One of the most boring Porsches that were ever produced in looks.
944.
Yeah.
I think it still has the record for the largest capacity 4-cylinder motor in a production car.
Yeah, but it looks boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks boring from the rear end. It looks like it needs to lose a couple of kilos. Look at that.
Yeah, she's got a big butt. And
Got a very big
Just says
butt.
80s, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yep.
it screams 80s. But it looks like a great little kit, actually. Comes with a...
it's curbside by the looks of it. Don't think it comes with a motor.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, definitely curbside.
Oh, 4 rubber wheels?
Well, that's what all car kits come with
Yeah.
rubber tyres, Dave. What are you going on about?
All right. Next up in 1/72 scale is a Phantom, an F4M Phantom of the RAF in, I think I said 1/72 scale. Yep.
RAF, one of them is Fleet Air Arm.
Yeah, all the Fleet Air Arms were eventually transferred across to the RAF,
I
though,
see.
once they paid off the Ark Royal.
Yep.
Of course, the English Phantoms had that extra long oleo on the front
Yep.
of its undercarriage, so it could get the angle of attack because the deck wasn't long enough.
Yep.
So, and the Brits love the Phantoms, and
Mm.
I think our Aussie guys love the Phantoms as well when we had them for a short period of
We
time
only
as
had
well.
one squadron.
We had 2 squadrons.
I thought we only had one.
No, we had 24 of them on loan from the US while we were waiting for our F-111s.
Yeah, because they had a lot of problems with the F-111s.
Yeah, but did they end up being a superb aircraft?
Such a shame we retired them.
Yeah, they were.
We had to.
Yeah, they were getting...
I mean, that's like saying, people say that, it's a shame we retired and all that. That's like saying, it's a shame we retired a P-51. Well, yeah, still a classic aircraft, but you know what? It's not going to survive in the current, arena if you sort of go to
look at
war.
that tragedy that happened in America last month with the B-17.
Yeah, that
Yes,
was,
yeah.
It was very tragic. Yeah.
Yet the B-52s go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, the B-52s. They would just update them all the time.
I think I did a thing where I calculated that if, for example, if the ME-262 was still flying as long as the B-52 has, it would have only been retired about 5 or 6 years ago out of service. Or the Wright brothers aircraft would still be flying up until about the 1960s.
Right.
What the American Air Force is doing with the B-52s is just... I mean, they retire aircraft carriers, the big super carriers that the Americans use, after 50 years, see you later.
Yeah.
And yet...
The old Buff.
The old Buff is still flying.
Yep. Says a lot about the construction of it.
Yeah. And they've got such bendy wings too, you
Yeah,
think.
yeah, they flap.
Now, this is interesting. This is something that I think we've spoken about before, but Italy have now announced a Warsaw Pact Troops 1980s in 1/72 scale. So they've got, and they're saying it's 8+ war games approved. So yet again, they're moving into the war game arena. So they're doing 48 Warsaw Pact in 1980s to fill your Cold War diorama. I can't quite see, gents. It's Russians, I'm assuming there.
Yeah. Yep.
Or Soviet Pact forces, we'll say.
And they've got dudes in the hazmat suits, in those really cool green hazmat suits.
And then in 1/72 scale, they're doing NATO troops.
Oh, yep.
I don't know how many, 48 troops for each kit or each box.
Yep.
And they're both priced at €10.50. I don't know whether it's soft plastic or not.
Yeah, that's.
It
I
looks
was
like
gonna ask
soft
that.
plastic.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Oh, I hate that soft plastic because paint just doesn't stick to
Paint
it.
doesn't stick to it at all.
It
Yeah,
just
it's
falls
terrible.
off.
Next, we have from Masterbox is doing a very interesting subject here. These are the releases for November, December. They're presenting us with 3 scenes from the old Wild West.
Oh, very cool.
So the first one they're doing and this is all in 1/35th scale, is Marshall Tom Tucker and Molly and Rebecca Hansen. It's as in what they call the Outlaw Gunslinger series. And basically it's a picture of a frontierswoman with a little girl behind her. And it looks like she just shot an outlaw and he sort of...
Well, the marshal. She shot the marshal.
I don't think she shot the marshal.
Well, he's the marshal.
Is he? How do you know?
Well, who else is it going to be? The box has got 3 figures. One's Marshall Tom Tucker. The other two are Molly and Rebecca.
Oh,
Wait on. Could be a transgender person.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That might be his first name, Marshall, and Tom's just his middle name. You consider that?
Oh, yeah. That must be very misleading.
Yeah.
And it comes with a horse. Figures look quite
The
nice.
figures look very nice. The next one really is quite good. It's the Outlaw Gunslinger, and this guy's name is Gentleman Jim Jamison.
Hired gun.
Hired gun.
He's on his horseback.
He's got his top hat.
And the last one, I love this guy's name. It is Pedro Melgolza, Bounty Hunter.
Do you think he needs any stinking
He's
badges?
I don't need no stinky.
He's got a pink shirt and he's got a sombrero. And he's holding his rifle across his shoulders.
But the face looks like Tom Selleck.
It does, yeah.
Doesn't it?
It's Pancho Villas, the meanest man in all Mexico.
An overweight Tom Selleck.
Yes. Well, that's how Tom would look now anyway.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
What's happened?
Oh, so that looks quite interesting. In other news, our secret correspondent has written in, and he's got quite a few announcements here, so we'll zip through them. First one, Silver Wings have announced that they will be releasing a resin 1/32nd scale de Havilland tiger moth. Geez, that's going to cost a fortune in resin, isn't it?
I also got the old Matchbox one.
I have you?
Silver Wings kits are fantastic.
Yeah.
Are they really?
Very, very well produced, yeah.
Wow. Fantastic Plastic will be releasing some experimental/real space kits in 1/48th scale. Ooh. 4 lifting bodies. So think the start of the $6 Million Man TV show. They're going to be a Northrop HL10, and
cool.
Northrop M2-F3, the Martin X24A, and the Martin X24B. Oh, they're going to be really cool to do. Also in 1/48 scale, it's going to be a Russian 7K-LIK moonship.
What the heck is that?
I think that was their planned thing they were going to send to the moon, which they never eventually built.
From what I understand, I think they flew them 3 times.
Oh, they did actually fly
Never
them.
with anyone on board.
They're only in suborbital.
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
think maybe one tried to go to the moon or something.
Whalers on the moon.
I think, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Is it Arama or?
Armour.
Armour Hobby, spelled ARMA. Armour Hobby have teased that they would announce a new 1/72nd scale aircraft kit in October. After the excellent Hurricane Mark 1, people were pretty excited, and there was a lot of interesting speculation about what it would be. Well, they waited till the 31st before the announcement, and the new kit is going to be, drum roll,
A Hurricane.
a Hurricane
In foreign.
Mark 2C.
Yes.
And nobody guessed it. Have also released, they are soon to release, the Tropical East Front and Royal Navy versions of the Hurricane Mark 1 kits. As a bit of local interest, 2 of these 3 marking options is a tropical kit for the Royal Australian Air Force aircraft. There you go.
I think they only had 2 of them. Oh, no, sorry. There's 2 markings, but I think there was only 1 Hurricane we ever had. So I think
Yeah, there was one we had here.
I think that's.
We never had any
That's
more
it.
than about 1, though, did we?
But they had 2.
Out here we
I
did.
think it might have been repainted, so that's both the
okay.
schemes.
I think it ended up rotting away. They just left it to rot.
Yeah.
But I remember I think it was the Australian Hurricanes in the Western Desert. Weren't they the ones that had like the leading edges were painted like Italian aircraft? They had like camouflage, the
Yeah,
Italian style
there was
camouflage on
some-
the leading edges.
It turned out that was actually silver. They thought it was Italian makes, but it turned out it was silver and maybe some other colours.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. There was Fairy Fulmars had it as well.
Oh, I see.
Our secret correspondent continues and says that Mini Art will be releasing a 135th German car, a 170V Cabrio. It's a Mercedes-Benz, and a 135th Polish production T55. Luke Graff resin kits are to release a 1/32nd Sopwith baby float plane.
Yes, I've seen that advertised.
Tacom have announced a 135th Macabre 2D. Don't know how. Okay, 2D. I'm just trying to think of where that fits in the rankings of them.
I'm assuming it's like a new one.
Yeah, it'll be a new kit, but I'm just wondering what.
Yeah, but I was thinking in terms of like there's Merkava 4 and 3 and stuff. So
Yeah,
I think it's after that,
Yeah.
probably.
Hobby Boss have a couple of new kits in 135 on the way. They have got a KRAZ 260 with a trailer.
We just talked about that,
We
Dave.
did. And we also talk about the... they're also doing a medium-range ballistic missile system as well. Let me try and pronounce this. A Pukukusong 2 medium-range ballistic missile system. Trumpeter announced their 135th kit of a Ural 4320 armoured truck. Armory Model Group from the Ukraine is showing a test build for their 148 Fairy Flycatcher, which looks terrific.
Oh, the Flycatcher.
It
That was
will
a big
go on
aircraft.
sale at
No, little.
Scale Model
Oh,
World.
that's right, yes.
It'll go on sale at Scale Model World at Telford this year. I'll have to Google what a Fairy Flycatcher looks like. I can't recall what it thinks.
It's a biplane. I think the Royal Navy had them.
Mm.
It's like an early carrier plane.
I'll have to have a look. And BAT Projects are working on an injection moulded 1/72nd scale Curtiss T-32 Condor 2 bomber airliner. That's it from our secret correspondent. Gents, have we got anything new around here that would like to share?
Yes.
Oh,
Special Hobby
Yes.
producing their RE2000 Falco and RE2005 Sagittario in 48 scale. I'll be buying both of these kits.
yeah, for the Italian aircraft aficionados.
Yeah. You know, I'm very deep into this Italian thing, considering I've only got one kit.
I should have written it down, but I read somewhere this week there's a new company that's released 4 new 72 scale aircraft on a war game or war something they're called, the company's called. But what I've seen and what I've read is stay the hell away from them.
Really?
Oh, they're shocking. They do a D9, Focke-Wulf D9, they do a Mustang, a Corsair, and I can't remember what the fourth one is, but they are shocking kits. I mean, it's like they step back to the 1970s. This company, it's really poor.
Well, I've just googled Fairy Flycatcher and it just gives me a whole heap of birds.
Yeah, it is a bird.
Oh, hang on, I've written fairy and haven't put the E in the word fairy.
Dave,
Sorry.
Dave's lost the plot.
You got anything new, Ian?
Me? I just said it.
Okay, and sorry, beg your pardon, I'm too busy doing this. And Robert, what have you got for us?
Well, as you may know, when I come on the show, I like to do a bit of research and find lots of things. But the secret kit correspondent has beaten me to it on a lot of things.
Oh, of course.
But hey, secret kit correspondent, here's a couple you didn't get. From AVI Models, there's a 72nd scale E7K1 and E7K2 ALF, which is a Japanese float plane. Hasegawa did one, and people have all said, "Oh, we don't need a new one." But I remember somebody doing a build in one of the magazines. I think it was Peter Fearis, who's a Japanese guy. He practically had to rebuild it to make it right. So this would be good to have a new kit.
Oh, good.
Dora wings to go along with their Block 151 and the whole series. They're also working on a Moran Saulnier MS406 and 410. So they look like they're doing lots of the French fighters. So they seem to be into French aircraft.
Cool.
And IBG Models are doing 3 of the French 75 gun, the very famous one.
Yep.
Yes.
From World War One. Well, there was also World War II versions with pneumatic tyres and stuff. And IBG are doing 3 of those. One which is just the gun, and they don't mention anything else. And the other ones, there's a French one, which is a model 1938, and there's the Poles had quite a few of them. So they're doing one of those kits. And so that's all from me. There's only one thing. You mentioned the BAT projects, Curtiss T-32.
Yep.
BAT projects, I thought they did resin, but I saw someone on Hyperscale was building a BAT projects kit of a Heinkel 114, and it turns out it was actually injection moulded plastic. But what was most interesting was a limited run of 200 kits.
Wow.
And it's like, I can't imagine anyone doing an injected moulded kit with only 200.
I can't imagine how they make the money on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those kits must be worth a fortune to cover their
But
costs.
it was £45, so probably $100.
Jeez, that's a lot, yeah.
It looked a lovely kit, but geez, you'd really want it.
Definitely. Yes.
Well, on that note, let's take a short break and we'll be back to talk about armour. Fine Scale Modeller is proud to support On the Bench. Fine Scale Modeller is the world's most recognised and essential magazine and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, go to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to either the print edition or the digital edition, or why not both? Go now. Go to www.finescale.com. Okay, and welcome back, everybody, for our next subject, talk about building armour kits. Now, I've been on a real armour bend of late, and thoroughly enjoying building my armour kits.
Yes,
And
tell us what's on your mind.
what's on my mind? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I alluded to that earlier on in the show, didn't I?
Yes.
The part that I really get stressed out about is the tracks.
Okay.
What colour to paint them. But I think maybe we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves when we get to that. So how do you guys tackle... Well, I'll go to you, Robert. How do you tackle building a tank? Is there a certain way you approach it? With aircraft, it's always the cockpit first. With ships, it's always the hull first, and you build in sub-assemblies. With cars, you build...
Chassis, engine, interior, bodies
It's a
last.
set sort of order. So with tanks, how do you go about doing that?
Well, usually I like to follow the instructions. And they usually start off with the wheels and suspension, and that's usually where I start.
Yeah.
I suppose there's a bit of a sort of different philosophy in how people build. Some people like to paint as they go.
Yep.
I'm a build it, put everything on it, and then paint it, including tracks, unless it's got separate workable tracks. So I usually find you can get in and paint everything, and it's just so much quicker, because that's the one thing about aircraft is you have to paint all the interior, and there's a lot of work painting while you're constructing, and that's what I like about armour is you can just go straight through, don't have to worry about painting.
So you put the tracks on even before you paint them?
Yep.
Seriously?
Yeah, I've tried doing it the other way, painting them first, and then it's too much of a hassle.
Really?
Yeah. I find too if you give them a spray of Chaos Black,
Yeah.
that hides everything, and you just paint the bits you see, and I found you can get into paint everything.
It's getting over the Julian methodology of painting.
Well, I do this almost the same thing. I build as much of it as I can first. There are, every kit's different and requires a different set of challenges and peculiarities, right?
Yeah.
But generally, I like to glue as much on as possible. The only other thing about that is with regards to wheels. I need to be able to get in there and brush paint all the rubber onto the tires and things like that.
Do you brush paint them on?
Yeah.
You don't spray it on?
No, don't need to.
Wow. Okay.
Especially if you use a paint like Vallejo, which is great for brush painting.
Yeah. I mean, also, there's not too much point. So on a Sherman, because the wheels are kept captive inside a bogie, right?
Yep.
There's no point. If you paint them all up, then you put them inside the bogie, which you haven't painted. What then? I mean, there are seam lines you have to remove when you assemble the bogie, usually.
Yeah, I can see that, I guess.
Mm.
I can see that.
But, if you're talking more modern tanks where they got the torsion bar suspension, you just got the wheels that just go on the ends, then, I suppose you can spray those separately, and those kits tend to are more likely to come with workable tracks and things like that.
Mm. So while we're talking about the tracks and that bottom part, do you paint the underneath of the actual tank itself?
Yeah, of course. It's part of the tank.
All right. Just checking. And with tracks, are we finding that we prefer to do individual links or link in length or vinyl tracks? What's our most favourite part?
Are we talking?
Most favourite one of doing them?
Are we talking preference?
Yeah,
because usually you'll get kits that come with the tank.
Yep.
And my personal preference is Master Club metallic link tracks, which go together with pins. They're super easy to make and look great, but they're very expensive, so I've only used them on one tank. But like frills and stuff, frill model tracks are good metal ones. But unless it's a Sherman or something, I wouldn't build a kit with rubber band tracks. If I can possibly avoid it, I'll look for aftermarket. So, and the link tracks, Lincoln, I find like link and length are probably slightly easier. Not that much different from individual link tracks, usually a bit less work. But I find they're all difficult. Like the final fitting of all of them is difficult because you've got to try and got to have a moving idler wheel so you can get the right tension on tracks. And I found too, I've built some of the Trumpeter KV tanks. Lovely kits, come with link and length track and rubber band if you don't want to do that. But on one side, they fit quite easily, and on the other side with the link and length, it's quite difficult to get to fit, and it was I had to make the idlers move, which is not catered for in the kit. So yeah.
What do you suppose that is?
I don't know.
Someone didn't measure twice.
I think possibly because it's got torsion bar suspension system. They're sort of offset.
Yeah.
For both sides, and I think it probably changes the geometry a little bit. And the tracks are made but will fit great on one side because of that, not so good on the other.
Yeah, it's what you're always going to end up with, the right side being a little bit further forward than left side or vice versa, right? Because those torsion bars run all the way to the opposite side of the tank.
I mean, still, but you can't see that I had the trouble, but at the time I was not enjoying it.
Stressed.
Yeah. It's like, what's going on?
See, I've had that problems with the AFV Club M18 Hellcat.
Yep.
Yeah, one side, the rubber band tracks fit nicely. The other side, it was too taut and it actually just broke.
Wow.
Gee. See, I prefer individual links. I just love doing them. I really do. It's like a real zen thing for me to sit there and just go bang, 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 bang and build the tracks.
Wait, so when you say individual link, you mean like the kind that just are workable, right?
Yeah.
You mean workable tracks.
I love workable tracks. I reckon.
Because there's the individual link kind where you glue them together.
Yeah, no. I like the workable links. I just find it really, really therapeutic just sitting there and just going bang, bang, bang and producing a track. And
it does depend on what they are, because, for instance, if you've got like on a Matilda track, Bronco aftermarket tracks for those, and it's 2-part ones and they go together and they're quite very workable afterwards. Yet I built a Valentine where they actually have got the pins and the little holes just moulded in the tracks, and you're supposed to try and bend the track a bit out to get over the pin. And I thought I'd made them all, got them all working properly and found a way to bend them. But then when I put some weathering on them, the whole track just fell apart.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So just that little bit was a bit of Terpsy based thing.
Yep.
And it just softened the plastic enough to make the sort of join not viable anymore. And they just fell apart, and I had to go around and drill them through and pin them, which was not much fun.
That's annoying.
Oh, jeez, after doing
I
all
would
the work.
have just glued them.
But I'd painted them at that point.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with tracks. I mean, and because I'm doing that Polish tank at the moment, which is the prototype they built, and I've been umming and ahhing, so I've just painted the tracks black, and I'm thinking I'll just leave them black now.
Well, they probably had rubber faces.
They
on them,
do.
didn't
They do. But trying to get, I looked at how I could perhaps have it so the rubber face was just black and then paint that individually, and I'd have to try and make a mask that was small enough to cover them all.
So that's where you've got to brush paint those.
No, you don't. Not necessarily.
Oh.
Well, see, having built the Meng Bradley kit, it uses the exact same style of track almost.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And that came with a photo etch mask.
Really?
Oh, did it really?
Yep.
Have you still got it?
I don't think so. I think I gave it to someone.
I doubt very much would fit, would it?
I'm pretty sure it would.
You want fun tracks? You build a Dragon SDKFZ 250 or a 251 where you got those rubber boots that go on the tracks. Like they're like a rubber stopper.
Yeah, but it's a half track. You've only got half the amount of track.
No, it's a 3/4 track. Really.
3/4 track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're fun doing, especially because they got like a metal base and then with like a rubber pad on top of it. So you got to paint that separately before you glue it onto your tracks, and yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Well, I built the Ming T90, and that had like a jig and everything for you to assemble all their tracks. But you had the added option of putting the rubber pads on, and you had to clip all of those off and glue them all on. And they're like little tiny strips, thin tiny strips, not like those big blocks on those things. Yeah, I looked at that and I'm like, nah, I'm done.
Well, I've got a couple of M113s and I've purchased aftermarket individual links for them, and that's a 3-parter. You've got your metal individual track, and then you've got the rubber road wheel or the rubber pad that goes on it, and then you've got these 2 little plastic pins either side that you put in and glue in. And the whole process is quite good, but I'm sort of struggling as to whether I should paint the little black bits, rubber bits separate before I put them on. I haven't done that yet, so yeah, I don't know.
I suppose it sort of depends on the construction method, whether you can glue them on when they're painted and all that sort of stuff.
Well, as long as you don't make the big mistake of rusting them.
Of what?
Rusting. You see a lot of modelers rust their tracks.
Yeah.
Well, if the tracks are rusty, that thing has been sitting still for a long time.
We'd be amazed. I mean, I've heard this argument amongst armour builders quite often about rust or not. But even on modern tanks that operate quite regularly, there's always going to be that off sort of light surface rust colour to them anyway, regardless of how well
used
used they are.
But they're not going to be rusty as heck.
No, it's sort of almost like a hull red or type,
like an oxidisation.
Yeah, oxidisation type thing.
Yep.
But I just struggle with getting that sort of finish that I'm really looking for. But it's a bit that really
rust is kind of a weird one, right? Because it is weathering, right? Because it's aged, but it's not really weathering in the sense that there's no weather effects on it, right? There's no mud, so it's kind of like you've gone for a clean but aged look.
Yeah,
which is weird to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. That's a good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like someone hosed it off, cleaned it all up, and then let it sit there for a while. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's much. It sounds much better to just put a bit of like light dust over it, and that.
Yeah. That's all you need.
Seems
just a bit
more,
of dust.
Yeah.
A bit of dust, and that's all you need.
Which I found quite effective actually, using that MIG oxide dusting that you just coat on it, and that looks really good.
Yeah, it does.
That looks really good.
Have you sealed that yet, by the way?
No, I'm not going to. Do you know I won an award for that?
Yeah, I know.
I was surprised. I'm really surprised.
Why are you afraid that if you seal it, it'll invalidate your award?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, maybe I might get up the heart to sort of go and put a matte sort of,
You can always put more on.
Yeah, I know.
But if it looks good now and it's in the cupboard away from anything that will knock off the powder.
Yeah, well, one day it'll actually have real dust on it, and then when he goes and dusts that off, it'll look clean.
Actually, there's a good point there, Julian. I never considered that.
Well, just use a fixative rather than
yeah. You know, I got told to use a Windex as a good fixative.
Yeah, really? I hope you don't paint with acrylics then.
Yeah,
I do.
Well, don't use
Windex. That's like thinners to acrylic paints.
But you'd seal a paint first before you put the.
What are you going to seal the paint with? Acrylic paint. You're using acrylic paint. You're going to seal it with acrylic paint. So yeah, you can't use Windex.
I think Mig Jimenez, who's basically the guy that popularised the pigments.
Yeah.
He's got a fixative, and it smells very much just like turpentine. So, I haven't heard it myself, but apparently he has suggested, you can just use turpentine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it might be worth trying it. I've seen people do it on YouTube, and it's frightening. They just chuck so many pigments on, and then they just hit it with the terps, and
it makes this big slurry, and you think, oh, that's just going to look shocking, and then it dries, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, like one of the things people do is they'll like to cake the pigments in corners, like
I do that.
Yeah, and then they'll hit it with like a little water droplet thing. Yeah, what do you call like the dropper?
Pipette.
Yeah, like a pipette. Yeah, and they'll just use the pipette to put the pigment fixer on, and it'll drop down a little bit because it's like adding water to dirt and it becomes mud. But but then it gets caked in that corner there, and it looks very realistic.
It does. It looks very good.
So next stage, you do your hull to your lower hull to your upper hull.
Oh no! See, what often happens when Robert builds a tank, right, is that he'll look for something that's wrong with it, right, and then he'll start messing with it in ways that shouldn't be messed with. You know, he likes to create problems for himself.
Yeah. I usually go looking on the net,
and if he doesn't
small, and then I find it's a big problem.
Yeah, and if he doesn't find it, I'll find it for him to make it harder for him.
Yeah, thanks for that, Julian.
Good on you, Julian.
But by and large, generally, once you've got your road wheels done, you put your upper hull to your lower hull.
Yeah, for normal people, you just start gluing upper hull and bits and pieces together. It all goes together pretty quickly. Like that part of the build is so fast, you know, so enjoyable. You know, it's just.
You can then get bogged down on, you know, adding things like weld lines and stuff, which I tend to do. But
yeah, if you're a construction orientated person, rivets, weld beads. You know, you use like the stretch sprue, and you can create, and then you use lots of glue and poke it a bit with a knife and stuff, and you can get the nice weld bead look. Yeah.
I really enjoy building the turrets because then you can stick it on and it starts to look like a proper tank.
Yes.
Yeah.
With your obviously, you've got to think about how you're going to do it if you're doing a display it with an interior. So, I mean, I've heard some people, what they do is they'll have the hatch open, but to hide the fact there's no interior, they'll stick a figure in there.
Correct. Yep.
And I think they'll use the same figure for different tanks, depending on which tank they're doing.
I've been known to do that.
It's funny, every armour kit I've ever built, I've put at least one figure with.
See, I hate doing figures, so I don't do figures with the tanks I'm doing.
No, it's just something. It's just me when it comes to like aircraft. No figures.
Yeah,
ships, very occasionally figures.
Oh, I've seen a lot of figures on your ships.
Yes. Armour, always got at least one figure.
Yeah,
and always on a base.
One thing that I like to do is I mentioned it previously when I was working on this Sherman. The how I added some photo etch. Aftermarket headlight guards.
Yes. Yep.
Right. So I'm really getting into that sort of thing because, like, for example, a lot of kits will come with smoke launchers, and they're usually not molded very nicely.
Agreed.
You know, and like I think if you replace them with brass ones, right, it changes the look dramatically because they're thinner, they're perfectly cylindrical. You know, they look the deal. You know, it doesn't look like plastic like a lot of them can.
So if you're adding brass, do you go as far as your machine guns and your main armament to have a brass barrel for that, or aluminium barrel?
To be honest, I don't think like a big aluminium barrel actually makes that much difference. A lot of, I mean, it's a pain in the ass sometimes if you get a kit that has a 2-piece barrel where you've got like one half.
Yeah, that's usually when you replace it with a 1-piece barrel.
But I mean, a lot of kits these days will have like a slide molded barrel or something like that, and it'll be fine.
Trust me, some kits don't, and they're brand new ones. They've still got the two halves.
I know. Together. But I mean, like if you take a bit of care, you can get those to look alright. But there are some things that can't be made up for. You know, like a lot of kits will have like the base of the antennas, but not give you the actual antenna itself.
Antenna,
right?
Yep.
So they'll have like the little spring portion at the bottom, and they'll have all the mounting points on the turret or on the hull, but they won't give you any more than that. And it's up to you to figure out, there should be an antenna there. And it's not like antennas like on aircraft where it's like a cord.
Yeah.
No, because tank antennas are thick at the base and they taper up at the top.
Yeah.
You know what's quite good for that? Cat's whiskers.
Cats don't think that's a good idea.
Well, the cats don't enjoy it, but seriously, a cat whisker, because it tapers in, right? It goes to it, and it's perfect for making or using for tank antennas. All you got to do is paint them. You just glue them in, and they glue in quite easily.
So after this podcast, there's going to be a heck of a lot of cats running around bumping into things.
Well, cat's whiskers actually fall out over a period of time. So if anybody owns a cat, they're well aware of this fact. So you just got to
follow it around.
You don't. You just got to pick up the drop cat whisker and just store it for future use.
You just go to the local web store and buy some arbor antennas for about $5 and you get a packet of 4.
Or make your own stretch sprue.
Actually, I bought some recently. It was really interesting looking through the
different. And they're brass and they're really nice.
Yeah, well, I found there's some different variations between some of them. Some of them have an actual spring at the base.
Yep.
that's I found very interesting. I didn't really go in for that because it even gives you all the little there's like little brackets and things that go on near the base as well.
So what's the manufacturer of these ones?
Armour.
Armour.
ABER.
Dave's just writing this down because
Armour do a lot of gun barrels and so forth as well. ABER.
Right. Okay.
I reckon they probably do the best photo etch for armour, but they're often extremely complicated.
Yeah.
They look really good, but they're really complicated. And really, soldering is your friend in that.
You have never built a ship model, so
How do you go to building hinges and stuff like that?
I bought a hinge jig the other year.
Did you really?
Year, yeah, special. Yeah, I bought it actually after I built the Model T Ford,
Of course.
which would have been really handy when I was building the Model T Ford, getting the bonnet hinges properly rather than have to do it by hand. But no, you can buy little hinge kits.
Yeah. And you build like I haven't done it myself, and I imagine it's quite a bit of fiddling around. But if you can get those hinges to be made out of photo etch, they look the part. They look like hinges, you know.
Well, much like you're using the photo etch for your headlight protectors and everything, it looks scale to the kit.
Yeah.
If you get the headlight protectors that are part of a moulded thing, it just looks over moulded and out of scale. So
of course.
And like if you build German tanks, there's lots of leather straps and things for holding down tools and things.
You can actually get working tool clamps in photo etch.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I've actually got a photo etch set. I think might be Flyhawk or one of them
Oh,
brands.
Flyhawk's good, yeah.
And it's it's Voyager. Sorry,
Voyager.
not Firehawk. And it's for the is it the M26 Chaffee?
Yep.
Yeah. And that actually for the machine gun actually comes with photo etch shell clips.
you're kidding me.
Wow.
So
For disintegrating links.
correct.
Oh,
Can you see
wow.
them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You got to bend them up and then and it even comes with little brass shells that you got to slide in each one. So your the shells and your machine gun link
Oh, jeez.
will have a nice flex in it.
Gee, 135th scale, that's tiny.
Yeah.
That's really small.
Nah, it's not that small. We've worked on smaller
you're
stuff.
right, we have. But geez.
But fiddly.
Got to say, Voyager aren't my absolute favourite.
No, I've heard a lot of stories where their stuff's not really fits very well.
Yes,
occasionally.
I found it was extremely oversized after I'd cut all the bits off.
Oh, that'd be annoying.
Yeah.
Once you've done the surgery and then to find out the bits you've got to replace are too big.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I mean, while we're talking about all these sort of physical additions you can add to your armor kit,
Yep.
I've seen some. You'll see photos out there. People have taken photos of their kits, and it's like they've scratch built lots of stuff, so you can see lots of white styrene on it. There's bits of brass. There's lots of different. There's resin elements, and it looks all really colourful. And then they'll paint it, and it'll look pretty average.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because no one can see that you've used resin and brass and all this sort of stuff once you've got the paint on it. So I would say your painting is probably more important in the end.
So when we think back to, and we were talking before, Anthony Goodman from our friends over at the Scale Model podcast, he's finished the Marines APC from the Alien TV series. The stuff he's got in the back of that's different colours, so it really sort of jumps out at you as being sort of...
Yeah, I think he's got a red tarp or something on the deck as well.
Yeah, it looks really good. I wonder if he did that himself.
Really jumps right out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I've seen that kit and it doesn't come with all those accessories.
Yeah, so he's really sort of goosed that up.
And he's
quite
lit
a
it
bit.
up too.
Yeah, LEDs. Well, that's a thought. Do you guys what are your thoughts on putting LEDs in your armour kits?
Some kits come with LEDs.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's like a boxing of the T90 that I did, where the infrared headlamps or whatever they've got on the turret, they can be lit up. That seems like a bit of a gimmick to me. I'm not that interested in lighting unless it's, like I can imagine lighting in the APC thing, the Marines thing, would be good, but it's not for every situation. Right, I'm not the kind of person who is that big on like the spaceships that have the lighting sets inside them.
Oh, I am. I reckon it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I love them. That's the...
Yeah.
Oh, it was better on aircraft carriers.
Your aircraft...
A lit up aircraft
And I know we're
carrier.
going off the track here, but lighting is something that has really come in big in the modelling world, I reckon.
Oh, well,
in
there's
the
kits
last-
now. There's actual kits out there made for models.
Yeah. I mean, it was led by the railroad guys, the sci-fi guys, and they all did it to themselves, but... I mean, our manufacturers, even support industries are now producing lighting stuff, particularly for a particular kit.
Correct.
There.
Yeah.
So I don't think lighting would suit a World War II or pre-war armour kit, whereas it would suit a modern one.
Yeah. Well, they've all got blackout lights and all that sort of stuff. It's not really necessary. Like I would say, if you're going to bother with that, just spend that time and effort and money on a base. Like a lot of armor kits, the heavy weathering and stuff, it doesn't look quite right unless you've got it on a base to put it in context.
Yeah.
You know, so I reckon the lighting would look good on, like, if you're doing one of those like German half tracks with the big searchlight on the back.
Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah.
It's a good point. The searchlight up.
It'd have to be infrared though, so you have to give people goggles to see the light.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
All right, so which one of you guys are in the camp of build it then paint it, or who's in the other camp of semi-paint or build sub-assemblies and then paint them and build it?
Well, I've added myself as a build and then paint.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like that. There is certain bits you've got to paint separately, but with an armour kit, I usually paint all one here.
Julian?
I try to build as much as I can and then paint. I'll even glue the tracks on and everything sometimes. Well, completely. It really depends, but if I can get away with painting certain things separately, I'll weigh that against the inconvenience, you know.
See, I approach armour kits as I approach ships. You build in sub-assemblies, you paint, then assemble it together and then move forward. It just terrifies me building an entire kit and then painting it afterwards. I don't know what it is about it.
I used to be like you, but then I tried it once and I thought, that's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, there are things that you, like, you know, I build aircraft too, and there are things you can get away with in this regard with armour that you can't get away with aircraft, you know.
I think you can probably hide a lot more mistakes in armour than any other model kit genre.
I used to think that until I had made some mistakes and then, I can't hide this.
You just put a tarp over it.
I think tanks are easier to put together. You're less likely to make a mistake, and if you do make a mistake, nothing's hiding that. It'll be something like, you know, your tracks aren't straight. What do you do then?
Yeah, well, who's going to tell they're not straight?
The judges.
Whoever's looking
People
at
that look at it,
Yeah. In the same way that, you know, if you're judging like a plane, you would look to see if all your wings are straight. You look at tanks, you look at the tracks if the tracks are straight.
Mm-hmm.
I've never thought of that. Yeah, okay.
It's like there's the basic
But
thing.
you know, I would have thought that. I mean, you know, because you got your wheels and the track goes into it and the teeth, it has to go straight.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
But you would be. People get things wrong.
Just we're using the rubber one, it'll, you know, fail you every time.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's where
but then with the rubber ones, there's always got to be a connecting point, right?
Yeah.
You got to hide that somewhere.
You usually hide that at the very top.
That makes sense. Oh, no,
the very bottom.
Very bottom would be the way to hide it.
Underneath one of the road wheels.
Yeah,
underneath one of the road wheels.
Well, if it's got skirts, you can stick it at the top.
Skirts. Stick it at the top.
That's another thing. So if you're building a somewhat modern tank that has big skirts, you don't even have to build the upper portion of the tracks.
You and I have had that discussion before. I know.
Yeah, well, that was what, episode 2, was it? Or something like that?
I don't know when it was.
Yeah.
We've had that discussion before.
Well, especially with your tank, you can only see the bottom, the tracks at the very front and the very rear, right? Oh, and the band around the bottom. But the top part, you can't see it. It's got the biggest skirts I've ever seen.
Yeah, you know, I might be leaning your way for this particular model, to tell you the truth.
Well, I think that you only have half the tracks to build.
I know.
It doesn't work if you've got workable tracks because then they just fall off.
Yeah, of course, yeah. They have to individual.
The other thing also, when you get those metal tracks, the white metal tracks, like Frui model, it just adds that scale weight to your kit. It does,
Yeah.
When you pick it up, it actually feels heavy.
Yeah, well, I think like half the benefit of those things is the proper sag across the top.
And that's what, because I remember Tomeo, when they first started releasing their 48 scale armour kits, the bottom hulls were usually cast metal.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And so you've got this little 48 scale like Panzer IV.
Oh, with the 48 scale ones. Yeah. I've still got some of those.
And it's got decent weight to it.
Yeah, I've still got some of those.
Have you heard my theory on that?
What's that?
I reckon they say it's for scale weight, but that doesn't mean anything. I think just their die cast area where it didn't have much work?
Oh, actually, no. Actually, it's Tamea, which is in Japan, which is got a lot of earthquakes. So if the kit's heavy, it's not going to vibrate off the
That's an interesting
bench
thing.
or
Good
vibrate.
theory there, Ian. Very good theory. I like the way you think.
See?
Very clever.
Hey.
What also I find enjoyable about tanks is there's hardly any decals that you need.
Yes,
Yes.
not,
You can get
it's
away
not
with
like doing a
nothing.
Phantom with about 7 million stencils on it.
And in fact, you can, and I'm glad you used the word stencil, tanks you can apply, it's much more open to applying stencils and painting on whatever you're wanting to put on.
Well,
rather
actually, the
than using
last
decals.
tank I built, I think that was the Ferdinand, and that was actually Archer rub-on transfers.
What would they like to use?
Well, very good. Unfortunately, the set that I was sent must have got squashed in the mail,
Right.
because the transfers were actually pretty much adhered to their backing.
Oh, great.
So they were pretty useless, except for the 3 that I needed the most. I could use them. But every other one just went in the bin because you couldn't get them off. They were just squashed to the backing paper.
But
But besides that, they were brilliant to use, those rub-on transfers.
There's a raft of photo etch stencils that you can buy for armour kits.
Correct.
That you can just spray it on. The beauty about it, you can use it again and again and again and again.
Yeah, I've got a set at home that B&A sent me by accident when I ordered something, and also did the item number was 1 digit off, and they sent me this thing, and it's like, do you want it back? And they go, nah, keep it. Well, eventually I'll use it.
Yeah.
See, I keep forgetting that I've got a bunch of those. And because what I wanted to, what I've often thought about doing is, because you often see this on tanks, like especially like, you know, American tanks, you know, where they've sprayed these white stars on the side of their tanks, right? Is that slight overspray kind of look?
Yes. Yeah, cool.
That's not just on tanks, on aircraft too.
Yeah.
We can all remember the famous P-51s with the 2 black stripes going right across the fuselage in the Pacific campaign. You can see where the masking tape is, and
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
where the
I-
black is just on the bare metal. Yep.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. But I
We
mean,
got to think they weren't, when they were painting these things, they weren't painting them to make them look pretty.
Nah.
Get the colour on and put your markings on and get it out the door. It's
painting for a
it's-
purpose. Absolutely.
cast texture, maybe you can talk to us about that, Robert.
I can slightly.
Because you're doing some cast texturing at the moment, are you not?
Cast texturing.
Yeah.
It's putting texture back into the hull.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, there's 2 things that you can, or I use. You can either use like Tamea extra thin and stipple it with a brush to get an effect, or the one I use mostly is Mr. Surfacer, and just stipple it on with a brush.
Just an old flat brush that you cut the bristles back so it's short. Yep.
I also find Mr. Surfacer good for doing like casting. The French tanks I'm doing at the moment, some of them on their turrets have got like a cast line. It's not, sometimes it's very pronounced, other times not much. And I found I'd just put a line of Tamiya tape around and then paint a layer of Mr. Surfacer, pull it off, then put some more, after that's dried, put some more on it. And that gives just a nice little subtle cast line, which is good.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, the first time I did it, I thought they were welded together. So I actually put it like a line of sprue.
Like a bead, yeah.
Yeah, and made it look like a weld, and then I found out, they're not welded. Yeah,
Well, there you go.
yeah, so actually, I'm refurbing that tank at the moment. So I fixed that up, and it looks much better.
Yeah, I've got a little pattern tank to build. I think it's a pattern for me Godzilla. It comes with a little tank.
How small is that?
Yeah, it's
I'll
tiny.
be about 176 go.
Ah, right.
It's about 3 pieces snapped together.
Your favourite scale for doing armour, gents?
135th.
35th scale.
Okay, no 1/72, 76 scale?
No.
Or
I built
1/16th?
72nd now.
Yeah, for
just
trophies.
For trophies, yeah. I mean, I won this year.
Yeah.
With my little 72nd scale tank, and I've got another one I'll put in this year. Give it another go.
Next year, you mean?
Yeah. Sorry, next year. I'll see if I can retain my lead. I mean, I don't give myself good chances because there's a lot of great guys out there, but I'll give it a go.
I will say the new 72nd scale kits are much better than the FX ones I used to make as a kid.
The old Matchbox
Jeez,
ones.
they were.
Mind you, the old Matchbox ones that came with little diorama bases, they were great
They
value.
were
Yeah.
awesome.
They were great value.
And some interesting vehicles too.
Yeah.
But they're, the kits Julian's been getting are really nice. Although sometimes they miss things like windscreens.
Yeah. So
Windscreens.
Yeah, because I bought this thing
So
that's.
Is this a secret, is it?
Oh, not really. Anyway,
Not now, anyway.
so the one I'm building for next year will be this little sort of Russian thing that's got like tracks and it has like a truck cab on it. Doesn't have any windows.
So they forgot to give you the sprue, or they
No,
just?
I don't think it's supposed to have them. I mean, like it's sort of like, well, you figure it out, kind of thing.
Oh, what you mean, like a flat windscreen?
Yeah.
Or is it got
Yeah.
a curved windscreen?
No, flat windscreen.
Clear styrene.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Yeah, easy peasy.
The photograph of the model on the front has windscreen.
Yeah,
I think they've taken a photograph of their 35th scale one, actually.
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's quite a nice little model.
Yep.
Well engineered, It's got like really nice. That's the thing. This is the thing you get with like nice, more modern things. Like it's not so much armor as it is, but it's still sort of armor. But where you've got like canvas and other sort of fabric elements, and they're molded to look really realistic nowadays. Not like it used to be, where it looks a bit weird.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
What do you guys think about painting and weathering? Do you have any sort of particular styles of thing you like and don't like?
I like weathering armour.
What sort of
Fun.
what sort of things do you like to do?
Oh, paint chipping.
Right.
You do that very well.
Dust effects.
Yeah, Ian does the paint chipping very well.
Right, yeah.
Dust effects, mud, all that sort of just normal grime.
Streaking.
Streaking. Streaking's great fun to do. I love streaking.
I find that.
But then I got arrested, so I had to stop.
So when we're streaking, let's about the paint method.
And-
How about we?
And
how
poor
about
Dave's eyes are bleeding now because he's just got this mental image of me running down the street with me duds down.
How do we do the streaking? So just to explain it to our
Just
listeners
use
out there.
is it AK does the streaking? Yeah, AK. Yeah, AK
Streaking
streaking grime.
grime.
And it's to be used with acrylic paints because it's enamel based, so you can't use it on enamel, as Dave found out with the submarine.
Yes.
And basically, it's just you can get it like dust streaking, water streaking, mould streaking, dirty grime streaking, all different colours, and you just paint a little bit on where you want to have a bit of a streaking effect, and they've got their own white spirits thinners. And just get a bit of a soft flat brush, dampen it with the thinners, and just run it over where you put your line, and that blends that line, and turns into a streak.
It is a bit of a technique you've got to learn, though, isn't it?
It is a bit of a technique. It's easy. I found it quite easy to learn. And being enamel on acrylic, if you're not happy with it, you just get a bit more enamel thinners on your brush and wipe it off.
Yeah, but the important step we forgot to mention is you need to protect the base paint underneath.
Yeah.
Before you do the streaking, so you need to do a gloss cover, gloss protection.
No. Streaking will not work on gloss.
Do you use
Because
just
it'll
a
just
matte?
run off.
Just
It's
use
a
a matte then,
matte.
flat matte.
Yep.
It does the way
Yep.
I paint gloss, which is always matte.
So yes.
I still can't do that. What about painting styles? Because I sort of brought this up because there's one I really hate. There's a style where people paint, and it's like a forced light position.
That's a Spanish school.
Yeah, where it looks
Yeah.
like the light's coming from one and they sort of...
Force light.
zenithal.
Force light perspective.
Yeah, I hate that.
I think
Worst models.
it's with miniatures in a little miniature diorama, like a vignette. It works
Right.
well. I've seen it done really, really well. Especially like people have like, I remember there was a young girl years ago, and she did a diorama, and this is like a guy going through a dungeon with a torch, and on the walls you could see the yellow light reflection on the walls, and it just looked amazing.
I can see it working in that situation.
But on an armour kit, no.
Yeah.
Unless it's on a base and it's telling a story.
It needs to be in a box too, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Don't do it.
the force light, but in an armour kit, you're going to be able to turn the armour kit around, so
That's
it's not.
right.
It's going to be pointless doing it.
Because I got to do that on my Godzilla force light.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah, because I'm going to have his back plates all blue and white, ready to do the atomic breath. So I'm going to have the reflection on his back scales.
All right. You could use glow-in-the-dark paint for that.
I could too.
Yeah.
You just looking for an excuse for someone, to do the glow in the dark.
I'll need a blue.
They do a lovely blue at SMS.
SMS, yeah, that'd be
like a light blue, like a paley blue.
Well, it looks glowy pale blue.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. So with the shading techniques, I'm not that. I like to do a bit of shading type stuff, but there's no real sort of plan to it. I just tend to lighten certain things, and that's about it.
When it comes to lighting, like as you said, like lighting certain areas, like if I'm doing something that's out in the desert or out in the sun a lot, then I'll bleach the top.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't worry about it. You're not going to see it.
Also, something that people can take pay more attention to is the kind of colours that they use to paint their tools, because a lot of people like to paint their wooden tools in
brown,
weird colours, yeah.
Plain brown, earth brown handles,
or like a mustard yellow kind of colour, and it also like pays for you to take some care, colour within the lines. Don't
colour within the lines.
I see a lot of people, and they'll paint their tools, and like they'll get like paint all over the hull, and
Oh, there's a way around doing that.
I'll paint them separately.
Correct.
Cigarette paper.
Cigarette paper.
You can usually slide very thin paper underneath the tools, and then you can be quite rough painting them.
That's a good idea.
Not my idea. I saw that on the net somewhere. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Now, something that is slightly off topic, but it's been creeping into the language, which has been driving me nuts, and I think you picked up on this too, Julian, is where people are calling Western tanks like the British Panzer, and they're using the word Panzer and applying it to non-German tanks.
You're talking about something I've been yakking about on Facebook.
Yeah, well, but I didn't notice. I saw your conversation. Then I've noticed that there's some guy running around saying, "Oh, the chieftain was a fantastic, British Panzer," and going,
"No, that's wrong."
No, it's wrong.
If it's a German guy doing the interview, yeah.
No, but it wasn't. He wasn't German,
according
from what I could see from his name. But I thought, and it just grates to read it as well.
Yeah.
Panzer should stick only with German-built armour and nothing else.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, well, I agree, but I know the reason why you've picked this up is because you're always correcting me on the differentiation between a boat and a ship. And a ship.
No, that's not the reason at all.
You're very stickler for your categories.
Well, it's not the categories. It's also what fits with the language. It means like me. I mean, you wouldn't call a Japanese. What's a Japanese tank?
Type 97.
You wouldn't call a Type 97 the Panzer, would you?
No. And by the way, the word tank is very much a English word, right?
Well, it was done as a disguise for what it actually was.
Well, the first units were called water closets.
Yeah, water tanks. Yeah,
water closet.
Yeah,
was the first tank was a water closet, and thus it went to the word tank, water tank, and then tank.
Also, the first anti-tank rifle that was developed was called a Tankgewehr, whereas afterwards they called them a Panzergewehr.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they were naming it as a weapon used to defeat tanks, and tanks were operated by the British.
The Germans didn't have them. They had a handful of A7Vs during and a handful of Mark IVs probably at the end of the First World War.
I often wonder about the mixing of English and, say, German when you're describing a tank. So you might have we'd call it a Panzer 38T or Panzer 38T or Panzerkampfwagen 38. Maybe we should use 38. 38.
Yes, that's the one.
But then I suppose if you just did it in English, you'd have to call it a Tank 38T, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's difficult to know. I hear this a lot because I watch a YouTube thing called Military History Visualised.
Yeah.
And there's an Austrian guy on it.
Yeah.
And he'll say it's a Panzerkampfwagen via Ausgay, which is a Panzer 4G, Aus G.
Yeah.
And it just sounds very cool the way he says it.
Yeah.
It sounds right.
Yeah.
But then if I try and do that, everyone thinks I'm a jerk.
He can speak the correct language that the thing was named in. But there's limitations to this sort of thing. You can't just start applying it to the wrong things.
Yes.
Geez, guys, we're sneaking up in 2 hours. Let's wrap up the armour stuff. Anybody got any final things on armour?
That's a good question. Is there? Can you ever say enough about armour?
No, really can't.
Get yourself one of those Molotow chrome pens because they're great for doing headlines.
They are the bees knees.
Yeah, the Molotow chrome pens.
Someone was saying the other day they weren't that good. I thought, what's wrong with you? They are that good.
I know. I
freaking
can't
awesome.
agree. I can't agree
More.
with the person who said they weren't any good.
Yeah.
Something
They're
right. Little tip to our listeners. I picked up another podcast, which Robert actually gave me a heads up for last week, and I've actually been loving it. It is called...
We Have Ways.
And it's by the James Holland, the English historian and author, and the other chap who is a comedian who does it with
Al
him.
Murray.
Al Murray, thank you. And they've got this fantastic podcast series. They've got about 60 episodes up now, and they look at all aspects of World War II.
So they're catching up to us then?
Yes, they are catching up to us, but they're doing about nearly 2 a week now.
They'll go ahead
2 a
of us
month.
then.
And it's just a fantastic podcast full of really great, interesting little bits of history. And what I like about James as a historian is he actually believes in getting out and walking the battlefields because that really indicates why things happened. And it's just great listening to the.
I'll tell you what, if you do ever get a chance to walk a battlefield, it's a very sombre experience. Like I remember years ago, I walked Arnhem. And
well, in fact, one of their 4 of their episodes were on Arnhem because it's been the anniversary of Arnhem this year. So,
and to actually still see the battle damage on the sides of buildings and that even to today is I remember speaking to one guy. He went to Guadalcanal.
Yeah, a friend of mine's gone there as well.
And he reckons even to today...
So much stuff lying around.
Yeah, you just walk along and you just kick the sand and you're kicking up medical boxes.
Yeah.
Every couple of metres.
Yeah. Imagine some of those other sort of smaller islands, like...
Tarawa and...
and all that. There'd be heaps of dust sitting there. Didn't they...
Also, remember, those people, they often fought in places that people don't necessarily need to go to.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
So it's all
very true.
untouched,
Yeah.
Remote
Absolutely.
Philippine islands and things.
Speaking of untouched, you'd be happy, wouldn't you? The Karga and the Kargi have now been found.
It's very impressive. Unfortunately, the ROV broke down, so we didn't get to see much. But,
exactly.
But it's great that they found them.
Yeah.
But there's nothing left of the flight decks.
No, they're sort of in Shattered Sword, the book that Dave and I love.
And me.
There's drawings of what it looked like.
Yeah.
There's
not much left.
No. And the other thing too, I managed to catch Peter Jackson's movie They Shall Not Grow Old.
It is brilliant, isn't it?
And I just couldn't believe. I've sat there, mouth agape, eyes open. The way they've done this passion of work and taken the old, stilted sort of movies and seemed to, made it sort of seamless, sort of they bring them to life in a way.
And all the voiceovers are the actual people who served in the First World War.
Yeah.
And did you see, because I gather you bought the DVD?
No, it was on Netflix and I watched it there.
Because on the DVD they've got the making of.
Oh, do they really?
And they had over 600 hours of visual and audio to go through.
But it was just because it had been colorized. And the movie was not made so it's not stilted like you see in the old World War One movies.
They slowed it down.
They slow it down, and it makes it look real. It makes it look contemporary. But when they're showing the scenes of the carnage of the battlefield, it really brings home the horror of trench warfare like nothing ever has. And I thought it was the masterpiece. I really do.
No, I totally agree. It's a great,
and I can see because Peter Jackson's grandfather fought in World War One. I can see it was where he gets his passion from. And if ever a guy deserves a knighthood for something, Peter Jackson deserves
He's
a
already
knighthood.
got one.
Well, another one. make him a duke or a prince or something because
Prince.
Because this
Prince of New Zealand.
If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favour and go and see it because
It's
it's really
good.
moving.
We often make our little models of things, but it pays to think about what they were
what
used
was
for.
behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
It was horrific.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's why my father never enjoyed me with my hobby. He lived through it.
Yeah.
He lived through occupied Europe during the Second World War. He's not much fun.
Nah, it wouldn't have been. All right, well, on that lovely note, I think we'll head into our sign-offs. And because we are
Just about to hit the 2-hour mark.
2 hours, that's a long episode, this one.
It's a good one.
All right. Well, we might start with you, Robert. Are you ready for a sign-off?
Okay. I'll just say one thing. I've got one recommendation.
Sure.
I've been looking at Russian tanks a lot lately, and I've got a book called The First T-34, Birth of a Legend by Christian Molsow, and it is a magnificent book. It's all about the early L-11 armed T-34s, and as the best modelling reference book you can imagine, it is absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
So I'd like to recommend that. And the other recommendation, as my sign-off thing would be work from photographs. When you're making a model, work from photographs, and then that's what they look like.
Yep.
Best way to find out to get a good model.
Photo etch. he's my friend.
Starting to sound like a parrot.
Julian.
Cartograph decals.
Julian's friend.
Yeah, they're my friend. I'll go for them every chance I get. If they're not cartograph decals, I start getting worried.
Oh, elitist.
All right, guys. Look, thanks very much for listening, and we'll be back in a fortnight.
Bye-bye.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that extra long show tonight, and thanks very much for listening. Don't forget, if you're still after some more podcast goodness, don't forget to go and have a look at our good friends from Canada, Stuart and Anthony, and the podcast called Scale Model Podcasts. They produce on the off week to us, which ensures that every week you get a podcast about scale models. My name's Dave. Thanks for being with us, and we'll catch you in a fortnight.